Okay, then we'll open it up. Everybody, very warm welcome to the Falkirk Common Good Fund Committee. First of all, just before we go into the apologies, just to let you know that if you want to speak, it's just the usual. You put your hand up so that I can see you. As Brian has said, we've got 3 members of the association here this morning, and after the report has been read by Hazel Johns, then there'll be an opportunity to ask any questions before we get into any deliberations. Does everybody understand that okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, any apologies, Brian?
Just from Councillor Bissett.
Councillor Bissett. Okay.
And I'll maybe check, because I've expelled him because he's sharing his laptop, he may actually want to put in that he's a declaration and he's not wanted, and that's why he's not participating. So I'll need to clarify that with him, but because he's in the lobby, I'll need to do it after.
Okay, thank you.
Honor.
Fine. Now, obviously, declaration of, sorry, Brian.
I'm just saying to Councillor Alexander, we've got Councillor Benny on now.
That's
good.
Okay.
So that's it. That's everybody.
Yes.
Hi. Morning. Morning, Councillor Benny. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay, then. We've just did the apologies, Councillor Benny, and just to let you know that it's the usual. If you want to speak, then you put your hand up. We'll have 3 members of the association here this morning to answer any questions. So once the report has been read by Hazel Johns, then that'll be an opportunity for members to ask any questions before we go into a deliberation. Okay, then. So declaration of interest. I'll read this out just for clarity. Members should declare any financial and non-financial interest they have in any item of business at the meeting, identifying the relevant agenda item and the nature of the interest. Any declarations of interest?
No.
That's fine. That takes us to item 3 on your agenda. It's the minute of the meeting of the Falkirk Common Good Committee held on the 26th of June 2019. Any questions arising for that minute, or can we agree?
Billy?
Yeah.
Can I question the decision, refer to the decision at that meeting and ask whether the appropriate assurances have now been given, the items 1 to 4 as detailed?
Okay, thank you. Brian, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, straight after the meeting, I emailed and got the reassurances, but I then sent them round all the members, and members came back to say they were satisfied. So the decision was taken forward on that basis.
Thank you, Brian. My memory doesn't go back a year. Thank you.
Any other questions for that minute, or can we agree the minute?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to item 4. It's the application for financial assistance to Danesford War Memorial Association, and the report is by Hazel Johns. Thank you, Hazel.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I might have Wi-Fi issues, so just warning you, but I'll try my best. It looks okay so far. So we had an application from Danesford War Memorial Association to basically site a memorial down at the Dawson Park to remember the lives lost in the war. They're applying for £65,000 for a total project cost of 520. The balance of the money they are applying to the National Lottery Heritage Fund for, and they've also got a small amount of 2,400 in their own bank account. So there's nothing concrete there as to how the balance of the project's going to be funded, but obviously they've made an initial inquiry. The memorial will be sited in Dawson Park on council land, and again that's been discussed as to who will look after the memorial afterwards. I think the initial thought is the council will take up that role, but I think the actual details of that have still to be agreed. The balance on the fund, the Falkirk Common Good Fund, is currently, and if I can find it in here, £696,000. and rents and interest received for the year are anticipated to be £27,000. And I think that's really all I have to say on it. If there's anything else I've missed, I do apologise, but I think that you've all got the reports as well, so you'll have had a read of them.
Okay. Thank you. Brian, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you just clarify again, because we don't want to lose anybody? I'm only seeing 6 people here. Is everybody else online? Has anybody went off there?
If you go to the top of your screen with your mouse, and there's a little button that looks circled that's got like four circles. It's called Grid View. You hit that, you'll see everybody.
Grid
Go to
view.
the top right. Did I say left? Top right of your screen.
No.
Do you have a circle right in the top
Circle.
corner? Top
Right.
I mean, it's got an option for Grid View, which is like 4 circles, circle on top of each other.
Yeah, well, I've pressed that, but I can only see Councillor Meikle-John, Councillor Ritchie, Councillor Binney, Hazel, and Councillor Patrick. I don't see Councillor Reid or Councillor Alexander or Councillor Goldie.
When they speak, they will appear on your screen.
Okay, that's fine then. Okay, then
I
before
think Dennis was looking for you. Sorry, Councillor Goldie.
Councillor Goldie,
Try. I put you on mute. Okay, on you go.
Thanks for that, Brian. It's not a council meeting this time. Can you hear me now?
and we can see you.
Right, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, then before we maybe have an opportunity to ask questions of the members of the association, have we got any questions to Hazel in relation to the agenda item report she read out? None? Okay then, has anybody got any, sorry?
Could I ask a question first?
Yes, indeed, Councillor Reid.
How long did it take for that 680,000 to accumulate?
Oh, a long time. I don't have the. Well, basically, the balance last year, I can tell you, was at the start of 2019, the balance was 767. So that's how much it's gone down in a year. I mean, I do have figures going back to D.Dot, what's been paid out, but to tell you that, Pat, it would take a bit of work. I'm sorry.
I think if I'm correct, it's over a century.
Oh, well, you know then. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay then, any other questions to Hazel? Okay then, it's an opportunity now to ask any questions from members of the association. Has anybody got any questions at this stage?
I just need to bring them in. Do you want me to bring them in, or are you happy just to go and make a decision? It's up to yourselves. You don't have to. You know, if you want to agree it just now, then you can do that. There's no obligation to speak to them, and I'm sure they'll be happy. Just, or would you like me to bring them in?
Well, we'll give members an opportunity to ask some questions, so I think you should bring them in.
Happy to do that.
Right.
Okay. So that's them coming in now.
Brian, could you maybe tell us who they are, what their names are?
Yeah, we've got Kevin Beattie, who is at James Kerr's machine, so you'll see James Kerr. We've got Charles Reid.
Charlie Reid, yeah.
And we've got Emma Peaty.
Emma Peaty, fine. Okay.
Maybe I'll just
yeah.
If you want to explain to them how we'll run this.
Yeah. Has any of the members of the committee got any questions to members of the association?
Provost.
Councillor Patrick.
Thank you, Provost. I'm very enthusiastic about the proposal, but I would like to get some information regarding the detail of the monument. For example, I presume, can you hear me?
Yes. How can I believe it?
We've got interference somewhere. Oh, carry on, John.
Right, thank you. I'd like to get some information regarding the detail. First of all, I understand that 230 names will appear attached to the memorial. will these names be alphabetical? Will they be in rank order? How will they be?
I would imagine alphabetical.
Pardon?
I would expect it to be alphabetical, as is the norm.
Well, that's what I was hoping would be the
Yeah.
case. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Maybe I should ask a question. Obviously, we're looking at this as a major community project. It's going to be invaluable in terms of education, and I know that you've been trying to link in with the local schools. Can
Yes.
you tell me, have you had any letters of support or anything like that you can maybe show us today?
Yes.
Just to let us know how you've been working in the community.
Yep. I mean, I've got a fair list of local community groups that are in this, being the Bowling Club, the British Legion, the names go on, and we can get that full list to you. It's about 20 in total, but there's a lot of establishments that are very supportive of this. Obviously, we've involved the local schools. Schools will be involved in the Memorial Gardens and input to them.
I think the important thing to point out here is that the support from the Common Good Fund in terms of helping finance the capital elements of the project will allow us to actually unlock funds from other funders for the community engagement elements of the project. And we will make sure that the work with schools directly links to the curriculum for excellence as well, and use it as an opportunity to teach local pupils about the local people in their community and their histories, so that they get a real opportunity to understand their local history and what the people in their community went through. Obviously, education is looking very different at the moment, so we're also exploring ways of how the project can go ahead in terms of the new social distancing requirements, and we will look at developing digital elements of the project. So if necessary, pupils, for example, can engage with clients and care facilities digitally, which will enable the pupils to develop digital skills as well while they're partaking in any oral history activities.
That's fine, because my own personal view about it is that we need that community engagement. I know that you've been going through that process, because what we don't want in communities is we don't want something just being built and standing there, and there's nothing going forward to ensure that posterity recognises what it's about. Okay, then. Sorry.
Can I just add another point? I think the point, what we want to also add, although our project will last for a year or so, the engagement with this that the school has with the association will go on beyond that project. We want it to be an ongoing partnership, so the project doesn't come to an end and then suddenly the memorial's left and the schools are no longer engaged in learning. We see it as an ongoing relationship that the association will have with schools and supporting learning in the community.
Fine, thank you.
Councillor McCann, can I just come in? Can I just come in at that point, please? Just on the back of what Emma was saying there, so we've engaged up to date with Langlease Primary School, Bainsford Primary School, St Francis Primary School, and both St Mungo's and Falkirk High Schools, which has been very positive.
Very good. Okay then, thank you. Is there any other questions from member? I see somebody. Yeah, any other questions? Councillor Reid.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, I can hear you. Councillor Reid was in silent there. That's him free to speak now.
Right,
Okay.
Councillor Reid.
I'd like to concentrate on the financial aspect of things. £85,000, and you've raised £4,000 so far.
That's
So
correct.
what was was that figure reached by a tender process? Did you go out to tender?
We've gone to two separate memorial engravings and engravers, and we've got two figures that allowed us to comfortably pitch at circa 70k for the monument itself, and we know the figures for the surrounding areas based on other projects that I've worked on. So we're looking at a full figure of 82, but the monument itself, 70k, is a comfortable figure given that we went out to two, one coming a good bit higher than that. So building on the externals, landscaping, etc., a safe figure of 82.
Right.
So can I just interrupt? I should have said at the start, Charlie, you're employed by Falkirk Council, but this is a pure personal capacity and you're only working here in a personal capacity at today's meeting.
Yeah, I've been doing the drawings at lunchtimes in my own personal time. So I produced the drawings and have obviously approached monumental masons and the likes. And I've engaged with schools on other projects in the past in the Bainsford area, ironically. I worked on the big bar demolition on Bainsford. So I'm used to the whole community engagement process, and it does go well if you keep everybody informed and make them feel a part of it. And one thing I'd like to put across, certainly with the schools, is the fact that the remembrance issue is very strong, because these kids won't forget because of their involvement in this memorial. And they'll actually self-police the thing as they grow up. When you think about it, you know, nobody will be allowed to vandalise this. Everybody in the area will have had an input and feel a part of it. Don't you agree?
Okay. Thanks for that. Any other questions?
If I could just follow up.
If you could maybe see if you could put your hand up when you want to ask a question.
Councillor Alexander wants to speak.
Right. Councillor Alexander, I don't see him. There he is. Right, Councillor Alexander. Can he hear you? Brian, can you get him in?
He's in there.
Right.
Can I ask how long the organisation's been running for?
2 years, I would say.
2 years.
Building up in detail over the last year, but 2 years this has come from the germ of an idea to the stage we're at now.
So it's 2 years and it's £4,000 you've raised.
No, the fundraising side has only recently been something that's started to move. They've needed the drawings and things like that to help do the presentations. I would see the next stage as getting a reduced, scaled down version of this monument formed as a maquette. That'll be a great marketing tool. They're going to do their funding.
Can I ask as well if the organisation as it's structured at the moment, how big it is, how many members it has?
10.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I see Councillor Goldie's hand up, right? Can he hear you, Brian? Can you get him in?
Yeah.
Brian, you keep doing that to me.
Right, the last time, I'm sure.
I hope so, yep. My question, it's more an observation than a question. Having some experience of this, I think sadly the world we live in, that the committee will hopefully, when they get the design agreed, allow for, regretfully, more people's names to go on it in the future, because it's going to be there for a long time. Hopefully it won't be needed, but when we did the Cameron one, we did leave space for people who would come on. And just to remind them, they may have forgotten, I won't insult them, but we just at the last minute remembered the Korean War. So people for the Korean War should be remembered as well.
Yeah. Well, if I could just say that on the design, we've got 3 faces around the main base for the lettering and engraving. There will be room for additions to that in terms of we'll scale the lettering to suit an area of the 3 panels, but there will be room below that for additions. And I'll make sure that with the monumental.
Thank
you. Did Councillor Reid want back in there?
Yes, I was just to, yes. So the memorial itself, the monument itself is 70,000.
Yeah. For all the masonry side, engraving and everything, yes.
The actual design of the monument, which I notice has steps in it rather than flat, were there any other options considered? Any less expensive options?
Well, it started as a solid granite element, and then I looked at a cost-saving exercise by forming it mainly in blockwork with faced-up stone panels. That was a good cost saver, and that was the basis we went out to the two masonry engravers at.
Okay. Any other questions coming? Councillor Meikle, do you want to see your hand up? Yeah.
Thanks, Provost. I just wanted to ask about the names. Are these going to be commemorating those that aren't already commemorated elsewhere within our current war memorials? Because I know that certainly in Camlin there was people that were missed, and that was the reason that that was sensible in going forward. But I just wondered if this is going to be people that haven't been commemorated.
Hi Cecil, Charlie here. I'm not dealing with that side of it, but I do know that there's 230 names pulled in so far, and that will continue to grow. It's a time-consuming exercise, but the work's going into that by other parties, and as you know, it's not an easy process. Let's hope nobody gets missed, but there will always be room to put names on in the future, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to point out, it is quite a detailed research exercise, so already names have been uncovered that haven't been included on memorials elsewhere, and we will get volunteers involved in that process to make sure that there's as much community engagement as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Put your hand up.
Benny?
Is Councillor Binney still with us? I haven't seen her.
Her hand's up, Provost.
Yes.
Right, Councillor Binney.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, if you don't mind, if I could ask a question regarding the memorial. And we have all these memorials all over the place, and usually the names on them are the First World War and the Second World War. But the history of the United Kingdom, there's been lots of more recent wars like Afghanistan, Iraqi and things like that. And obviously the numbers won't be there, I would imagine, for people really maybe from our area that, participate in those wars. But is it going to include that? Because I think, our history, I think our pupils at school fully understand the First World War, the Second World War, but the recent history of people that's died in wars, campaigns and things like that, they maybe don't understand so well. So really my question is, would there be room for perhaps maybe deaths from other wars that's happened after the Second World War? Because I think that's important for history as well.
Yes, that'd be a point. I'll let Emma.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Point, I'll let Emma answer on that one.
The idea is that the memorial will include the deaths of all local people who died in any war, any conflict within the last 200 years, etc., since the community has been established. And I think the point also to mention is that the memorial will be complemented by interpretation boards, which will give further insight into the conflict, because what we want to ensure isn't the memorial isn't just names on a tablet, that actually there's an opportunity for children and other local people to actually find out more about those people that have lost their lives and about the conflicts. So the booklet will be that there will be a booklet to accompany the project as well, and part of that will be put together using oral histories and memories from local people in the Bainsford area, including residents of the care facilities.
Right.
Sorry, just come back and just see, because the point I was going to say, children might resonate more with wars that's happened recently as opposed to going a wee back. They will understand that too, but they maybe understand that more too.
Yeah, and definitely when we're engaging with children in the classroom, we'll definitely use recent wars to introduce the topic so that they can talk about wars in their lifetime, and then we can look at it comparatively. Comparative engagement that really does help to open up doors in terms of making the subject more interesting to young people and making it more relevant to them.
Thank you. John Patrick's got his hand up. John.
Yeah, thank you, Provost. I think it's quite important when you're talking about making the local community aware of the contribution made by people from Bainsford, that it is actually remembered that so many more people, I'm delighted to say, managed to return satisfactorily from the wars. The contribution of people from Bainsford, my own father, for example, being a Bainsford person, went to the First World War and I'm delighted to say returned. So I think it's important that when you do your, you provide your information on the boards, etc., you actually recognise that the contribution made was much, much wider than the names appearing on the memorial itself.
That's definitely the intention, and we would plan to speak to as many local people who had memories or recollections that had been passed down to family members. So we would like to be speaking to people such as yourself during the project.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Councillor Alexander.
Councillor Alexander?
Yeah. How are you going to actually recognise the contribution of those that survived the wars?
There's plans to form a book that will have all of this narrative in it, away from the monument itself. So there are supporting items that are being looked at the moment.
And that's the booklet that will incorporate the oral histories as well. So it will be a booklet that will be freely available to the local community. The idea is that it's not something that's going to be for sale, because we want it to be as accessible to as many people as possible, so that all the pupils in the school will have access to a copy and the care facilities will have access to a copy as well, because it's quite important for us that people shouldn't have to pay for access to the history and memories of their local community.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Maybe I'll come back to you then. Councillor Bissett, speaking to him some time ago, had said that you were thinking about putting a memorial garden down for the children, like a remembrance area. Is that going to happen?
Yes, that's designed into the area around the monument itself. It's quite a large area that will be split into 3 for the different schools to look after. And
okay, thank you. Have we any other questions? Are we finished with the association at the moment? Any other questions? Brian, can you see any hands coming up?
I see Mr. Beatty's got his hand up. If you want to allow him to comment.
If he's got a contribution, bring him in. Mr. Beatty?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that we've put together a high-level project schedule with a lot of detail that will show milestones and resource level and time base. So that's fully available if anybody wishes to see that.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I think that's all the questions that I can see, but I'd just like to say to the association, obviously we'll be in discussion in relation to the application, but I would just like to commend you for the tremendous work you're doing, and I know that you've worked tirelessly for your community, and we'll wait and see what the result of your application is going to be. So Brian, do you want to take them out now?
Yeah, I think rather than put you in the lobby, because then the committee are going to discuss, you can leave the meeting just now if you want to do that.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll be in touch after.
Right. Thanks, folks.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye then.
Thank you.
We'll just check everybody's up. That's Emma away.
Can you get everybody up then, Brian, again on the screen? Perfect.
Yeah, I've got everybody on the screen yet, and that's.
I've not got everybody.
I'm not sure. I actually sent you a screenshot just to show you where it is, but I think.
Is that the floating panel view? The blue.
Yeah, but if you click that, you've got other options. One is like 4 dots on top of each other, and it's got to be square.
All right, 4 dots, right?
Hit that.
That's better. That's better. Perfect.
Well, we need that for council when we've got 30 plus.
Yeah, but more than 4 dots. Okay then, everybody. I think it was invaluable that we had members of the association here to discuss and an opportunity to ask questions. And we have got to thank them because they're all volunteers and they're very, very professional in the way that they've conducted their business. I'm fully supportive of this application, and I would formally move that we grant them the full. See Councillor Goldie get his hand up there, MD. I would formally move that we grant them the full money. Councillor Goldie.
Yeah, I'm happy to second that because I know the work that the committee have done. I can imagine how much more they've got to do having been involved. I would second the motion.
Okay, would you like to come in now? Councillor Reid.
I'm quite concerned about the level of cost for 230 names compared to the Carmen project and the Falkirk project. It's very, very high. And they've only raised 4,000 themselves, whereas I know Carmen are still raising money, we're still raising money in Falkirk. I don't think it's a good idea for someone to come along and ask for this sum of money and not having raised money themselves. I think that would be a bad precedent. I think that they should have money, don't get me wrong there. I think Bainsford deserves a memorial like anyone else, but I think we need to look more closely at the costs and see if they can be paid back a bit. I mean, if only £27,000 in interest coming in, that's 3 years' interest we're giving away almost.
I take your point, Councillor Reid, but I think they explained that they've been doing a lot of initial work. You'll know better than anybody because you were the driving force behind the Falkirk memorial. But the fact of the matter is that they've been doing an awful lot of work behind the scenes, and I think they've been concentrating on the community engagement and also getting the proper, because they've got a professional there that's been helping them with submitting the forms and the application forms. And they've also got what I think the plans are very, very well done indeed. You heard for the chap that did them, he's already been worked in numerous areas in the Falkirk area. I think he's very, very professional. And to be honest with you, I think they've been concentrating on that part, that they're not really on the fundraising. But so anyway, that's your point of view. Anybody else like to come in at that? Councillor Alexander.
Yeah, I agree with Pat on that one. I think that the gap between what they've raised and what they're going to spend is too great. I'm not sure what the purpose of the thing is, other than what's been outlined this morning. But you know, if it's along the same lines as Cameron, fine. You know, I don't have a problem with that. I'm wondering if there's any duplication in the process, because obviously the main war memorial for the Falkirk area is the Cenotaph. So I wonder if there's any duplication there. But the main concern I have is with regards to the level of funding that they're looking for. It's always been traditional that we spent up to the year income and lived on the interest, if you like, and then banked the capital, left the capital untouched. I've already heard that there's a significant amount of capital being reduced from last year to this year. Another 65,000 or whatever it is I think it's excessive and put too much a strain on the overall fund itself.
Well, I've got on that issue. I've got all the figures for when the Common Good Fund was set up, the analysis of payments, and there is a number included in that. I don't know if you've got copies of this, that shows quite clearly that on certain occasions for certain areas that there has been significant applications that have been granted. For me, to be honest with you, because I've been involved with war memorials for a very long time, and over the piece, I've had to constantly use my own savings in relation to certain items. But that's up to me. On this issue, I think it's the community project that sticks out here for me I know that the work that Councillor Bissett's been doing in the community, you've heard about the community engagement for Emma Peaty and what they want to do in the future. In relation to what you're saying, Councillor Alexander, that's a fair point about what they do in terms of they're going to ensure that there's not going to be duplication. That's a big task. I mean, Councillor Reid will tell you quite clearly the work that goes behind and trying to trace everybody that should be on the memorial. And I'm quite sure that they've been doing the same down in Bainsford. Anyway, we'll come back to everybody, but I'm moving on. Who wants? Councillor Meikle-John, sorry.
I'm supportive of the project, but I think the two colleagues have already indicated my concern is around the levels of funding that we're being asked for here. If we look at just the most recent ones around war memorials, I think Camlin was given around 20,000, and I think Falkirk was around, I think it was 100,000. If we actually look at the percentages of that compared to the overall costs, there's a significant increase in what we're being asked for here compared to the others by way of contribution. And I do know that Camlin worked very hard in raising the money, and as had Friends of Falkirk War Memorial and raising money. And I would like to have seen a bit more of the community engagement aspect of that. Perhaps look at other funds or matched funds, and there is considerable pressures on the fund as it is. We have traditionally stuck to only using the income. We deviated from that the last time because there has been a lot of applications. Again, we could be, we're only halfway through the year. There could be other calls upon the common good coming in this year as well, with only 27,000 predicted income. So I'm not against giving a contribution, but I think we maybe look to rebalance how much we actually give by way of a contribution, and ask them to seek other sources of funding or work with the community to identify additional funding.
Fine, thank you. We'll go around everybody. Obviously, I've moved and it's been seconded, but obviously there's opportunities to come in. People that don't disagree, and I'm understanding every single thing that you've been saying. In relation, I think one of the main things is in relation to the area, and I think in the report it tells you quite clearly when it talks about the area down there. I think it's going to be really, really beneficial. It tells you that this project, this is our report. This project is based on an area of Falkirk experiencing significant deprivation and includes households who would not normally engage in heritage projects. The participation of residents and in particular children in this project will facilitate a new kind of community engagement. Well, I don't think that you can put a price in that. And to be honest with you, my own personal opinion on the Common Good Fund, and I'm not the custodian of the Common Good Fund, we're all custodians yet, is that there's £696,000 in the, well, I see you shaking your head, Councillor Reid, so if you want to come in and disagree with what I'm saying, carry it, come in, Councillor Reid.
Well, that 690,000 has been since the end of the 19th century, and that's because it's been closely monitored over that period, Provost. If I may make a further comment, just the Borough of Falkirk monument was awarded up to 100,000, but received 92,000. We further promised that we would give money back, and I think at the moment we could give back £12,000 to the Common Good Fund.
Very good. Which
could be a starting point for Bainsford. If you were to add to that a year's interest, that would give them almost £40,000, which in my opinion is a really substantial donation, considering they've only raised 4,000.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting that forward as a positive alternative.
Right, we'll bring Councillor Goldie's got his hand up, but Councillor Ritchie's not spoken yet, so we'll bring Councillor Ritchie in first.
Thanks, Provost. Can we know? Can we not actually say to them that they should be doing some funding themselves, but give them the allocation that they've asked for, so they can actually start taking this forward? But actually, they say you're going to have to start fundraising, and if you get, can they give back? Like what Pat's just said about the Falkirk one, could the Bainsford one not do the same as that?
Right, I tend to agree with you. So what you're saying is we give them the 65, if they started a fundraising campaign because they've did all the administration side yet, then any money that comes in, then they give it back. Is that what you're saying? Right? I wouldn't disagree with that. Councillor Goldie wanted back in.
There was some time ago, there was a fund when the Allied Club closed and they lost the tennis courts, and there was a sum of money left. If from memory, it was to be used in Falkirk North. I'm not entirely sure if that was, I'm sure it was to be used in Falkirk North, but I don't know if that money was ever spent. That money could pass to the War Memorial.
The money's never come in.
Sorry.
Section 75 has never been collected. It's never been paid by the developer.
Right.
No, I thought the money had come in. I'm not talking about Section 75. I'm talking about from, is it the Lawn Tennis Association or something like that? Did that money not come in?
No, I'm aware of. Certainly, Section 75 didn't come in, and it was linked to. That was earmarked for the tennis courts at Dollar Park.
So there was no money. How much can you mind, Councillor Alexander, how much that money was? No,
I think it was about 50,000.
Because if it were to be 50,000, and we could take half of that and give that towards the War Memorial, if we were promised that, that would be a big advantage as well, I think.
Okay, well, obviously that's been part of a planning application. As Councillor Alexander said, if it's no went ahead, then there's no way that money, but that can be checked, right? This is a really good debate, and it's stimulus. So, Councillor Patrick, do you get anything to say at the moment?
Yes, I do actually greatly appreciate the proposal for the memorial, and I'm in favour of it. I do, however, agree that the financial situation, I think, has not been actually adequately investigated. Indeed, I'm not sure if it's competent or not, Provost, but I do believe that in actual fact we've got to defer a decision until we can be more clear as to exactly how much we can afford to give and how much would be just to give in relation to the other demands put on the fund.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else like to come in? We've got some various and different opinions, and that's what's good, and that's what the debate's about. So we've got a motion moved and seconded to Councillor Mr. Perry. Sorry, you got your hand up. Thank you.
An honourable promotion, thank you. Just to say that Councillor Patrick had suggested the possibility of continuing, that is open to you to continue and ask them to provide more detail on where they're looking for funding and how they would deal with what you give them. So if you give them 40,000 as suggested, or if you give them the 65, but with some sort of agreement from them to come back with any extra money they provide. So we could easily continue this meeting till say next week and get that information from them. Councillor Bissett did say in his capacity as chairman to me that if they raised money which was more than what the project was worth, they would give back. But I think me saying that isn't the same as him saying that to you or you getting it in writing. So you might want just to get clarity on that. So it's just to say that's an option.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. Is anybody else? Councillor Binney got her hand up.
Yes, I know I must admit I'm in favour of it, but I'm slightly concerned. I mean, the current climate as well, and what's going to happen in the future, and that the Common Good Fund, it's obviously for all the community. I do appreciate the argument here, you know, for having a war memorial and all that. I think that's really good, and including the community. But I'm concerned about the money they ask, the amount of money they're asking for, and also I haven't really heard about how they're going to do more fundraising, you know, how they're going to achieve that. if that, you know, for all businesses, for even to go to a bank, you've got to borrow money, you need a business plan, that, and I haven't quite heard that. But I'm not totally against it. I'm not totally against giving them money, but I just would like to hear a wee bit more about their plan for gathering funds for the memorial in Bainsford. That's all.
Okay, we'll just take a step back here and see where we are. We've got a motion moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Goldie, that we grant the application. We've also got an idea coming in for Councillor Reid. That Pat, could you just overview what you had said originally?
Well, I'd have to come to other members of the Falkirk War Memorial first, but we do have, I think, the possibility of refunding about 12,000 to the Common Good Fund, which could be applied to Bainsford, and then one could add to that a year's interest, which would give them about £39,000. It's just going round in my mind at the moment.
All right, no,
but that's a pretty good grant from the Common Good Fund.
That's another, yeah.
It might be better to wait and get some feedback from them as to, you know, what would that mean for them.
Right, that's a good proposal. Councillor Ritchie's proposal, no putting words in your mouth, was the fact that we give them the 65 and then any money that there is in fundraising, then that they would give it back to the fund. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. But actually tell them that they've got to start fundraising now that they've actually started, got all the details of what they want to do. They have got to start fundraising and finding funding for wherever they can.
Right.
As well.
Hazel, want to come in
Hi.
here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at their actual application, and there is a bit about fundraising and what they've got planned. So they're saying that they're going to be doing things like bingo nights, sponsored walks, donations from local people, but they've got a figure of 4,000 in.
Right.
So that's the kind of level they're looking for fundraising, and they've actually only raised 2,400 so far.
Just before I bring Councillor Meiklejohn in, one of the issues we've got now is because of this lockdown situation, trying to raise funds in any capacity. We know that ourselves. We've got all these areas out here like Strathcarron, the Maggies, all these places are desperately trying to get funding in. So there are opportunities really to fundraise for community projects like bingos and all that in the foreseeable future. I wouldn't say is there. I do believe that they've been in touch with education. I believe they've got a fund where they might be getting offered, I think, £2,000. But overall, we've got a situation. We don't know how the world is going to be going on in the next 6 months, a year with this coronavirus. And I think in terms of getting fundraising, I think that, and what's the alternative? You go to companies now that you maybe went to maybe before this started and there would be opportunities then to raise it. But the fact is it'd be very difficult. Councillor Meiklejohn.
Thank you, Robert. I think we've got a majority of members that have got concerns just around the level of funding, and I do wonder if we need to have a conversation with out with this meeting. Needs to be a conversation with the group to look at that, and perhaps some of our external funding officers could maybe support them to identify other funds that they may fit into that could help fill some of the gap. I would certainly see along the lines of looking at a 50-50 as something to consider. But if they were to actually identify additional funders, and they've got an application to the National Heritage Lottery Fund, but there may well be other environmental project funds out there that perhaps our officers could maybe help them with. And explore some of that. But I think we need to have a conversation to say to them that this has been raised by members, and is there an alternative way that we could go forward? And that may well be that they have applications in and we cover the costs of the applications at this time with the hope that they are successful and that's repaid. But we just need to get something a wee bit clearer about how they're going to go forward.
Right. Right. Well, we didn't want to go around in circles, but everything that's coming out, everybody's talking sense here is some description. My main situation quite clearly is just standing back here is that having been a strong supporter all my days, the fallen, and also the you heard from Emma Peaty. Emma Peaty is very professional. The fact is that she's highlighting about the community engagement aspect here. To me, then lends itself that I would continually support this. Now, I'm going to go back and speak to Councillor Goldie. I've already moved a motion. You come in quickly and seconded it. Now that we've heard for everybody, and we'll come back again and talk to folk. So, what's your feelings on it?
Well, I understand what's being said, but we still only have a motion, and the motion is to grant. So, and I can understand people's sympathies. I don't think anybody's unsympathetic to the War Memorial, but there's still a motion and there's no an amendment. So let's go for it and let's see what happens.
Happy to move an amendment, Provost.
Hold on, put your hand. Hold on, we've got hands going up. Councillor Alexander, and then Mr. Perry. Are you want to come in first, Mr.
I think maybe if I could just in front. There's a bit of press interest in this application, and I'm not sure it will do MD any good to have a vote at a common good fund unless it's absolutely necessary, because then it looks like it can be spun, it can be taken the wrong way. I think Councillor Meiklejohn probably correctly estimated everybody's in favour of the application.
Could I just say, Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt, Brian. I've been on Common Good Fund for 40 years nearly, and we've had votes before this.
I'm not sure you've had them on something as sensitive and with such public interest as the Common Good Fund. And of course, it's up to yourself. So I'm just doing the maths, thinking that a vote against giving money doesn't look good, whereas you all do seem to want to give money. It's just some are maybe more cautious on the amount that we're given.
Yeah.
There's no dispute, as far as I can tell, on wanting to support this. And as I think it was mentioned earlier, we could convene next week with far more information and be able to tell the people, because them having gone, your position is this, and make it very clear. So again, if somebody wants to put an amendment up, they can do that. You've got to vote on it. It's just how it looks, and voting in war memorials.
Right.
At a time like this, especially with the news today and wars on people's minds.
What news was today?
That was just everybody's talking because Dame Vera Lynn died, so it's very in the news again, and we're talking about it. So again,
Councillor Alexander, you were wanting to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with Brian that better avoid a vote, but the situation is such that if it's we've got to vote on it, we've got to vote on it. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I think that we award a year's income to the organisation, which is 27,000. And given the similarity in terms of the background, in terms of the detail of the project that the project has with the Falkirk upgrade, then we pass on any monies that come from the Falkirk fund. It should come back to the common good. We pass on anything that we get from that to the Bainsford Community Group, which should give them, as Pat has already said, the £40,000, which is given that as 50% of the cost of the field development. It is a fair, I think, a fair amount to invest.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Alexander. So, Councillor Alexander, is that an amendment then to the motion?
If
I know, it's
fine, yeah.
I know. Okay, who wants to come in there? Councillor Reid, did you want to come back in? Can you hear Councillor Reid?
Good, go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult decision.
I know.
I know. War memorials are very sensitive.
I know.
But the actual monument is setting aside the garden, which could be a phase 2, in my opinion, rather than have that done helter-skelter for November. The monument itself is 70,000. If we were given 40,000, that's quite a whack, especially if they're getting 10 from the lottery on top of that. They're getting very close to the actual monument figure, setting aside the garden, which, as I say, could be a phase 2.
Yeah, I totally understand what everybody's saying here. My personal view, and we're all here, we've all got our personal views. My personal view is that the circumstances at the minute, they want to proceed with this as soon as possible. The fact of the matter is that we've still got a situation where we're hoping to get schools back in some form. So the community engagement isn't going to be as 100% as what it would be in normal circumstances. But in terms of trying to get other type of funding, I know what Councillor Meikle-John says, that there would be maybe a possibility of officers maybe directing them. But Emma Peaty, who has did the paperwork for this administration, she's well versed in trying to get funding for them. Obviously, it isn't a lot of money that they've got. They haven't got a lot of money. But for me, I'm putting that aside, and I'm not quite happy, because I'll be honest with you, Councillor Reid, I see exactly where you're coming from, and 30,000 to 40,000 pound would be a good lift. But I'm in your hands now. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to stick in, hopefully. The issue that Councillor Ritchie said was that if they were successful in any other type of funding, then the fact is that money then would come back to the Common Good Fund. So I don't know whether it would be advantageous to, if we did agree, for them to say, well, you've got an opportunity now to try and fundraise for this and try and put some sort of pressure on them to say, well, look, we've been giving you this type of money, but the fact is that it's going to cause deficiencies within the Common Good Fund, and therefore that through your Emma Peaty and the rest, that you do get extra funding, which will then go back to the Common Good Fund. So I'm in your hands. I've put a motion up, but I'm quite happy to add that on, that the continue to fundraise, and any fundraising that they have that's over the budget that they're using, then reverts back to the Common Good Fund. I don't know how you feel about that, Mr. Goldie.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, Robert.
Okay, and Councillor Alexander, is that an official amendment, Councillor Alexander?
Yeah, if
I know it's difficult, I know. Councillor Reid.
All I can say is that Falkirk put on 1,700 names for 90,000.
Yeah.
Just leave that for you.
Well, can I say to you this? Falkirk, let's define this. Falkirk put their names on. You did a wonderful job there, but the fact is that this memorial down here isn't there. So Falkirk, it was like an add-on to Falkirk War Memorial. It's wonderful, yes. But the fact of the matter is that if you look at the drawings, this is coming from scratch, and it's going to be a major war memorial in an area. It isn't going to be something that's already there, and if you follow where I'm coming from, not being disrespectful, because the memorial is absolutely superb. But what I'm saying is that this is a new war memorial, and at the end of it, they're starting from scratch. Like yourselves, I've got issues in relation to the fact that they haven't got, but I know, I'm talking to Robert Bissett, that they've been concentrating on the community engagement with the schools and getting them involved and so forth, and that Emma Peaty has been trying to get funding and that for them as well. So they haven't been getting any major thrust to get funding. What I would say is that if it's granted, I mean, I don't know yet, we haven't decided, but if it's granted, then it's got the add-on that Councillor Ritchie said, that they then proceed to try and get funding, and then that money is put back. So really, it would be like giving them money. Don't mean like a loan, but they would be getting that money so that the possibility of they got funding, it would come back to you. So where are we now? I'll go round. What I'll do is I'll go round everybody and see what everybody's got to say. That's the fairest way, and then we'll just take cognizance what people say, and that's it. Councillor Goldie, you happy with that?
Yep.
Because if I go round, because what they're talking about, there's not going to be a vote, but if I go round every single person, I'm quite happy. I've already stated that I would like to see the full money. You've agreed. Now, if we go round everybody else and there's a difference of opinion, then at the end of it, there's nothing that we can do. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I'll go to Councillor Ritchie first. Councillor Ritchie, my suggestion, you've heard it, is that we give them the money, and then any fundraising they get, that the money comes back in. So what do you think of that, compared to the fact is that Councillor Alexander and Councillor Reid are quite happy to give them that nearly £40,000 at the minute, which includes the money that's coming back in for the Falkirk War Memorial? What do you feel? Can I hear you? Brian, can you get Councillor Ritchie in?
No, wait,
That's her, go.
You're here, we can hear you. Right.
Right. As long as it's stipulated that they have got to try and do fundraising themselves and actually going for more funding to wherever they can get it, I've not got a problem with them getting the money.
Okay.
To give it back.
As long as give it back. Okay, so we've got Councillor Goldie, Councillor Ritchie, myself, 3. We're coming to Councillor Meikle-John.
I'm disappointed that we couldn't have gone back and had further discussions with the group. And I think that would have been the most appropriate way to have handled this. However, I'm supportive of both what Councillor Alexander and Councillor Reid are saying with regard to the funding. And I think in absence of not agreeing to go back and have a discussion, then I'd be more supportive of looking at their 50% in the way that they've brought it forward. And looking to work with others about how they can perhaps either phase the programme or indeed access other funding.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Alexander, you've made your views, but you want to say anything else?
Yeah, just to pick up a wee bit on what's been suggested with regards to giving them full funding and then asking for some money back. I don't know the circumstances behind the Falkirk surplus, the 12,000. Maybe former Provost Reid could outline where that came from and how it was raised in particular. I just don't see the motivation to fundraise for something that you've already got the maximum funding for. And I think the motivation comes where the funding falls just short.
Yeah, I understand.
With £40,000 I left this morning, I think the organisation would be dancing in the streets of Ainsford rather than anything else that's negative.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Reid, do you want to come back in on that point about how you can deliver back that £12,000?
Well, if you recall, we only approached the Common Good Fund for more money because we got the rug pulled from us by Falkirk Environment Trust, who had pledged 57,000 and then pulled the rug at the last minute. That's why we came back. So we got the 100,000 maximum to underwrite, but we cut back our costs quite considerably. There were quite a few individual donations. Some of the members of the group chipped in quite a lot as well, and then constant fundraising after that. So the work is not yet complete at Falkirk. We need to hold back about maybe 20,000 for that, but we're sitting with 30,000 in the bank just by sheer hard work at fundraising. It took various forms. You were involved in lots of things, Provost.
Oh, I know. Well, could I maybe? I've just been thinking about something here that maybe here's a suggestion for everybody, right? Because obviously we're all supportive. Could it be, I'm coming to Councillor Goldie because he seconded me, could it be that we give them an opportunity to say, right, okay, this is what we've agreed at the minute. We've agreed to give you that £40,000. You then have to, that'll get them started and lets them know that we're supportive. We'll give them that money, but you'll then have to go on a major fundraising. And then, because this is going to take a lengthy period of time, then if there is a shortfall after the fundraising campaign, then they could maybe come back. How would that sound?
Yeah, that will sound okay. The simple way to do this, Provost, with no disrespect, is for you to say you're withdrawing the motion. I'll agree that, then you can have a view among other members and just take that view forward.
Right. Well, I'll do that. I'm quite happy to do that.
I'm happy with what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is, would it be agreeable to say, right, okay, we've had a lengthy debate, which we have. There's been a lot of opinions expressed, but everybody's 100% behind you. But what we're going to do is, initially, we're going to award you that money. Now, obviously, we don't know about how much exactly it's going to come back for the Falkirk War Memorial. That gets you started. You need to then start with a fundraising campaign to try and raise the rest of the money. But there is an opportunity, because as you say, Councillor Alexander said it quite rightly. If you get the money, then are you going to fundraise? Are you going to commit to that? And to me, if I got £40,000 for a war memorial in Bonnybridge and it's going to cost £70,000, then I would be working my socks off to try and raise that money, because Councillor Meikle-John says we can get officers involved with the council, and at the end of the day, see if we can get external funding for them. So, does that sound plausible to you?
Yep.
How does that sound?
Fine.
Yes, there's a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah.
If it helps, Provost, I could consult the other members of the committee and have the cheque into the Common Good Fund within a week.
That's perfect. So,
Councillor Buchanan, could you go over that again? Because I got cut off there. I had to come on my iPad.
So, what I thought about was, because we're all supportive of this, and as Mr. Perry said, we're all supportive of this, because when the papers get a hold of anything, you don't know what's going to come out at the end of it. We're all supportive of the Bainsford War Memorial, but what we want to do is we want to ensure that there is, that the money that we're given. So what we do is, considering what Councillor Reid said and Councillor Alexander, we award them the money. Is it £27,000, Hazel, that we've got for the?
Hello?
Is it 27,000 we've got in interest?
Yes,
Right.
Rent and interest,
So what we do is we award them the 27,000, plus the fact is that Councillor Reid is going to have a check in. We don't really know what the figure is. It could be around about 12,000, which gives them £40,000. So we give them that there just now and say, right, we're committed to supporting you, but you now have got an opportunity to try and fundraise the rest. Now, the fact is that you've got some time to do that, because it's going to take a lot of preparatory work. But if we're struggling for the funding to finalise it, because I think Councillor Meikle-John says there could be a phase 1 and a phase 2, that would get them to do at least a phase 1, and then they could come back to us next year sometime. Would everybody be agreed to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair.
Councillor Reid? Fine. Can you hear Councillor Reid? He wants to talk.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody fine. So, Brian, you've got the gist here. I think that is really good news for them. And the fact is that what it does is that it puts the emphasis on the fact that they've got this money. They've got a target of 65. So they've not got a target now of 65. They've got a target of maybe 25, 26,000. They've already, I believe, been going to get given an external funding for somebody else for 2,000. So what they need to do then is they need to concentrate then on trying to get the extra funding. If by the time they're going to do phase 2 or whatever, and they haven't reached that, then they can come back to us and then we can discuss it again. Is that fair?
That seems a good idea.
Is that fair, Councillor Gold, are you happy with
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
yes, Sam.
Mr. Perry?
I just think to close off, I think the minute will maybe just reflect there was a healthy chat and maybe not mention motions and amendments.
No,
Just
no, we
because
didn't
that's
need to
again the
do that.
coffee.
No, we didn't
Yeah.
need to do that because everybody's been singing for the same hymn sheet. It's just that sometimes we're in we're maybe in the wrong page a wee bit. We'll come back to it. So anyway, thank you very much for that. Now, how do you go about then? Could you maybe Hazel can tell us? Do you send a report to the group now about your decision?
Not normally, no. Well,
How do
I
we do
do.
it, Brian?
Well,
Sorry,
actually, I would
Brian.
not. If it's been approved, I would normally, yes, get in touch with them and send them a cheque. But we've never sort of only paid a bit before, so I'm happy to do that. Or I don't know what the correct process is, Brian.
Yeah,
Brian?
I'll go back to them today and tell them what the decision was, and they can be in touch. I'll speak to, I think, Councillor Bissett as the chairman. He may pass me on to somebody else and explain what we're going to do. That's the decision, so they have to, you know, they work with that. If they think that's something they can't work with, then they can tell us and we don't give them the money. That's up to them, but they've asked for money and that's the decision of the committee, so it's pretty straightforward, I think. And I can do that after the meeting.
Okay, everybody happy then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.